Good afternoon, and welcome to the Federal Executive Forum celebrating 19 years of profiling excellence in government IT mission programs. I'm Luke McCormack. During today's show, we will discuss critical issues facing government and industry leaders with their secure cloud computing strategies and solutions. With me on today's show are Rashay Deloche, Executive Director, Solutions Development Directorate, Department of Homeland Security; George W. Lamb, Director of Cloud and Software Modernization, Office of the DoD CIO; Balaji Subramanian, Executive Director, IT Delivery, Information Technology Office, TSA; Jeff Marshall, Acting Director, J9 Hosting and Compute Directorate at DISA; Alicia Hurt, Federal Government Industry Strategist at Splunk; and Scott Anderson, Distinguished Solution Architect at Verizon. Well, we've been at this cloud game for quite some time. We've gone from cloud, cloud first, cloud smart, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud. Rashay, let's start with you. I know there's a lot of activity going on up there at headquarters in regards to delivering capabilities across the enterprise using these solutions. Give us the state of the state.
Yeah, so DHS here in headquarters, we've been implementing a multi-year enterprise, multi-vendor, multi-cloud strategy that has taken about 10 years. It's been an enterprise-wide cloud computing initiative, which aims to modernize the department's technology infrastructure. Also, we underwent a significant multi-billion-dollar overhaul to migrate our data centers to modern cloud environments, which has taken a lot of effort, personnel, money, etc. And of course, the initiative was aimed at enhancing efficiency and security, and we've seen a lot of benefits there.
A lot of activity going on there with these private clouds, hybrid environments with these data centers, et cetera. You all have been on quite a journey there. George, another massive journey at DoD with, well, I guess we're on JWCC. I hear about JWCC 2.0. I can't believe it. Give us a top line as to how you all are doing on the cloud journey.
Yeah, you got to start with JWCC as a Department of Defense.
Absolutely.
We're a conglomerate. You look at the department, there's the different services. It's a huge organization. JWCC streamlined access to the cloud, so giving us a consistent contract across 4 of the major cloud service providers, giving us access to their complete portfolio to service all the different department security levels of our networking environment. So JWCC's been at a great start. We thought it would take a little bit while to ramp up, but it has hit 1.3 billion in cloud revenue.
Wow.
Being used across all of the services. It's just been a huge success. And I'll defer to Jeff of the DISA team on how they're putting cloud offerings together. What we're looking at now is taking that JWCC baseline, giving the access to the cloud, and looking at how we do consistent experiences for all of the different users of the cloud in the department. Primarily the cloud service offices at the different military departments. So the Army, Navy, Air Force, they've all got service offices that are offering things like the security services. So you get to the cloud, then you have to build a security environment around it. You want to look at how you're optimizing the cloud spend. So cloud is very different than on-premise, the way that we look at financing, the way that we allocate money and use those resources. So financial operations, big push at the department to get consistent financial operations for visibility, understand usage, understand how we surge and how we sort of balance across it. A lot of work in those cloud services offices to look at the legacy programs and help transition legacy programs consistently onto the cloud. So we're looking at how that operation is done across the different services in the portfolio. And then we're trying to automate things onto the cloud. So things like when you get a cloud account, you want to build a dev environment, a test environment, production environments, move things, secure all those. We want to do that through automation. So big effort on infrastructure as code, templates to go from getting a cloud contract to having an operational, functional cloud environment as fast as possible. And then the last piece I just want to share is as we're looking at cloud, your real transition now is software modernization and how we use the cloud, how we deliver capability onto the cloud, how we use the cloud to deliver capability that goes past the cloud into tactical environments, weapon systems. So huge work in the cloud software factory portfolio that's being managed across all of the department. Things like the Navy portfolio, focusing on how the ships and communications work, and the Army with the tactical environment, with the Air Force and all the different airframes. So lots of work on making cloud the baseline for what we're doing, plus the future for how we actually operate software in the department.
Fantastic. JWCC, right place, right time. We really do appreciate all the work there, George. Balaji, how about over at TSA? TSA, obviously an operating component under DHS. You all are on a tear over there as far as cloud implementation solutions.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to this forum. So, just like you mentioned, Luke, TSA was the original, agency that was stood up post September 11th event, as part of the Aviation Transportation Security Act. Before we dive into where we are, people need to understand that TSA is a multimodal, complex environment. People think of it as an aviation airport type thing. It's surface, the rail, the mass transit, the maritime, the pipeline. It has a lot of interagency dependency. What we do know is we not only have IT as an informational technology, we also have operational technology that we need to take a look at and consider when we are designing and progressing with any kind of a cloud computing programs. Mission always drives our IT. So you mentioned about cloud smart strategy in 2018. We align ourselves very much with our mothership, the DHS as our agency, and then we try to mimic many of their cloud strategy and follow their procurement strategy. Initially the 2018 cloud smart strategy was majorly focusing on security standardization, procurement streamlining, and application rationalization and cost optimization. We took those strategy and further developed on how do we get out of some of these data centers, how do we minimize our footprints. But then we realized that the hybrid cloud strategy needs to be very well understood. We just can't simply move some of this mission, high value assets or mission critical system into cloud without having to prove it. So we took that step, right? Initially, we had cloud first based on our cloud smart strategy from DHS, but we also said, hey, how about SaaS first? Because it was a natural progression of Microsoft Azure and some of these SaaS technology. The COVID period really accelerated our thinking in how we need to progress with the cloud. So I think COVID was, on one hand, it's a double-edged sword. It stopped us from a lot of what we were doing, but then it opened our eyes to, hey, remote work and how do we, accelerate that. 2022 to 24, which is, part of the new CIO's IT strategy. We saw a tremendous industry's best practices to be, applied to. Just like most of our colleagues here, multi-cloud architecture, avoiding vendor lock-in, best of the breed services selection. Security and compliance took a big front role, the zero trust architecture implementation right up front, which also means cloud native security controls. FinOps and cost management, no agency is operating without having some kind of a budget cut. We are looking at the real-time cost monitoring and optimization. The other one that I'm responsible personally for is speed to impact, which basically means DevSecOps integration. We are implementing across the board, some of the infrastructure as a code, continuous integration, continuous deployment, automated security testings, container orchestration, microservices orchestration. The other thing you might have heard is the data strategy. It's all about data. How do we enable the data-driven decision-making to the end users? So our data governance framework, the ETL, ELT type of pipeline automation, data mesh strategy is the basic now, our focus on how do we implement the cloud and how do we make that data available. Operational excellence is another part of it. The other thing we have done through the new CIO offices initiative is a very close collaboration with OT. That means, bringing in innovation, right? That means, I think one of my colleagues had mentioned, how do we enable their user accounts, rapid prototyping capability, serverless computing, edge compute computation. You might have heard about, touchless and other things. So governance and control is something that the CIO office has put in. And lastly, I would like to say center of excellence. Workforce development is absolutely important. Our focus is right now on, hey, you can outsource some of the doings, but don't outsource the knowledge.
Sure.
So that's where our focus is.
A lot of good activity going on there, and we certainly do appreciate hearing that top line outline that's happening at TSA and everything you all are doing over there. Jeff, how about at DISA? I want to make sure that for the listening audience, DISA's in DOD. We don't have a DISA at DHS. What's that interaction between them? And tell us what's cooking over there at J9.
Sure. Morning, Luke, panel. Appreciate you allowing me to be here with you. So DISA, we like to think of ourselves as kind of the cloud arm, if you will, the strategy and execution part. So we take what happens, what comes in from DoD CIO office, and then we look at how can we execute, implement, and put that out to our mission partners within DoD. So everything that George has previously talked about, we actually take that on and then we execute that and put that out there for the DoD mission partners, the combatant commands. Right now, our strategy is really focused around three major areas. And the first one is extremely exciting for me, having just come from 30 years in private industry. It's what we call the DISA Hybrid Cloud Broker Office. What we're finding is that within DoD, everyone hears the concepts of cloud first, get to the cloud. Now we're talking about cloud smart. Everyone kind of understands what that means, but what they do not understand, we're finding out in many cases, is what does that actually mean for me? I know I have workload. I know that I am supposed to get to the cloud, but what does that actually mean? How do I do that? What is the right cloud for my workload? And so what we've done is we've designed this hybrid cloud broker office within DISA that actually can go out there and understand and talk to a mission partner about what their issues are with their cloud journey. Where are they at with what challenges are they having? What are they trying to accomplish? And then we stop them right there and we say, all right, we're going to take the ball from you there, and we're going to now start to help you develop solutions that meets the right cloud journey for your workload. And then from there, we do start to talk about the products that we have, such as JWCC, when we're talking about commercial cloud, or our own private cloud offering, Stratus. And even, yes, we still have to offer some on-premise data center capabilities because there's things that just aren't ready for cloud from a missions partner perspective. Mm-hmm. And that's our major significant area that we're doing. Two others that are very important to us as part of our strategy is OCONUS Cloud. It's how do we offer cloud outside of the continental United States for our DoD mission partners. We have two venues for that we're strengthening right now, and we're making sure that are ready for those mission partners and ultimately for the warfighter. The first is related to JWCC, and it's called Joint Operational Edge, or JOE. This is basically us taking a mission partner's rack and stack and sticking it into a location outside of the United States where we still have data sovereignty over that data. So mainly that means in our own data centers outside of the continental United States. Yep. And that supports any mission partner who is on JWCC in the commercial cloud space. When they're not on that, but they still need to operate more effectively, efficiently at speed, we have Stratus. And so that is our own internal private cloud offering that we can offer them as well.
Excellent.
And so then finally, as it was also mentioned, it's very important that we are at speed getting our workforce up to where they need to be in order to support cloud workloads, not only within our own space, but also be able to manage, operate, and support mission partners as they put their workload into the commercial or private cloud space.
Love the idea of the whole lay down of these multi-capabilities and then the education to get them there. And we really do appreciate all the work that this is doing to provide those multi-facet offerings. Lalisha, how about at Splunk? You all are right in the middle of unlocking these capabilities for these various agencies, the ones that are on this call and the ones that are across the federal service. Give us a top line.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thanks for having me, Luke. So we're definitely seeing increased public-private partnership for sure as it relates to cloud computing programs at government agencies. As we've heard thus far on this call, agencies are digitally transforming and investing in cloud technology to really better deliver on their missions faster and more intelligently. And Splunk is at the table, partnering with them to enhance digital resilience. As a member of CISA's Joint Cyber Defense Collaborative, we're a trusted partner committed to strengthening cybersecurity capabilities for the federal government and support, as you mentioned, Luke, many on this call, right? Last year, Carasoft announced its blanket purchase agreement for Splunk Solutions, and we've been granted a core enterprise technology agreement by the DoD.
Nice.
And so this designation is a part of DoD's, as you all know, enterprise software initiative to really ensure technical dominance across defense agencies, across intelligence communities, as well as the U.S. Coast Guard. And so this milestone really separates us from our peers as the only IL5 accredited and fully certified cloud solution with CETA designation, which we're truly proud of. And then I would say, Luke, the DoD's rapid deployment of our cloud platform is truly a testament to the technology's incredible time to value for mission critical information and national security systems across various cybersecurity, mission analytics, and even IA use cases. Our IL5 capability with 100% uptime SLA ensures that that data that's so critical to the government is available at all times, leading to higher confidence and approval rates during DoD standard cybersecurity compliance and those readiness inspections that we love. And then additionally, the ability to rapidly scale allows our customers to really ingest all of that data from new and even existing data sources and meet the monitoring requirements required by many of the executive orders and memorandums that we see in place today for the federal government.
Excellent. I know those DoD partners love hearing about that number 5 there, so appreciate that. Scott, how about at Verizon? I know, look, we can't make all this cloud capability happen unless we've got reliable, consistent, secure technology that connects it all together. Tell us about where you all fit into this fabric.
Well, first of all, thanks, Luke, and good afternoon. Basically, if you think about this concept, right, and there's a couple of cloud things that are kind of pending on the edge right now, and I use the word pending on the edge on purpose. You know, one is the concept of edge computing, and that's greatly increasing. Edge computing gives entities the ability to utilize cloud functionality or cloud-like functionality, but extremely low latency. So you're looking at less than 5 milliseconds, very high speed, high bandwidth, high ability to get to it, provide the user with low latency. The other big one right now is polycloud. And everybody's talking about polycloud. It came out about a year ago. Polycloud, if we go back in time, right, because we all like to go back in time and remember the good old days, polycloud is really kind of taking some of the things that we call Cloud Broker in 2011, as well as some of the connectivity pieces. So to answer your question in a long and roundabout way, realistically, you know, cloud is awesome. And I promise you, Luke, if you gave me $10, I could build you a 10.9s app in the cloud tomorrow. The only rule I would have for you, the only rule would be you can never have a user connect to it, right? Because users are the variable
I was
that
looking for a
always
$10
cause the
bill
problem.
over here.
Oh, what's that? Well, you know, go ahead. So you can attach it as an attachment to and email me. But the concept, right, is you got to have connectivity to get there. Polycloud, edge computing, all of those things are really simply extensions of what connectivity brings to the organization. So from a Verizon perspective and telecommunications perspective, it's all about any device connecting anywhere, any data source securely.
Excellent. And I always love to hear these emerging terms and technologies such as polycloud. We appreciate everything that Verizon is doing to link all this together and unlock these capabilities. We're going to take a short break. We're going to be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We are talking about secure cloud computing. We're going to talk about specific programs that we want to highlight here. Balaji, we're going to start with you. You talked about a lot of different things. Great catch there on the OT-IT dynamic. Give us an example of a program that you'd like to highlight where this cloud capability is really unlocking those solutions for you.
Yeah, great question. Obviously, there are several programs that we can talk about, but if there is one that I need to highlight, just wanted to give you a little bit of a context. I know that my colleagues here, Jeff and George, talked about Cloud Smart. I think that's where we are emphasizing. We're not just jumping into something just for jumping in and trying to figure out. And as you mentioned, and as you noted, our biggest thing is going to be data-driven decision making for the 45,000 folks out on the field. So we're trying to do a cloud that is very mission centric. In order to do that, we have gone out of this thing about, hey, reduce the data center footprint and all those things. But we're now focusing on more cloud stability analysis, migration of a complex cloud environment. How do we make sure that they are ready for a mission, high value asset? So examples are like, we actually have internally developed some of these Red Hat OpenShift type of an environment where we are testing those things out in the Kubernetes, and how does some mission critical system operate? Take those value learned before we migrate. So we just don't go into velocity, variety, and volume. We are actually testing it inside through our own internal mechanism where we can test those microservices and containerizations, and how do we make sure we apply a uniform container security policies, the zero trust. Those are the areas that we are nailing down before we migrate it. The other area I would say, in a very similar context, is bringing in some of that innovation to us. The sooner we bring in, the better it is. It's like common authentication techniques. So we have invested a good bit of time and money in the COE to come up with some common authentication technique. What I mean by that is, so when you bring in somebody like a vendor into testing some of their tool sets for either OT or an IT, we used to feel that we had spending a lot of time on that PERSEC, on their onboarding and other things. How do we accelerate it? That's what our thought process has been. The last area I would say in similar vein is, how do we make sure we're getting best value of the SaaS we have implemented? The big question that comes back is citizen coding. So we are enabling that capability along with the zero trust implementation. All in all, to say that our framework on the decision, the 6 R's, whether it is rehost, replatform, and all the way to replace and retain and retire, all these things are being analyzed through this type of a very complex understanding of what the hybrid cloud needs to do for a smart implementation.
Excellent. I love this sort of sandboxing environment that you've created here, so you can put this technology in there, pressure test it, then get it out there and allow us to have a touchless experience. We'll talk about that for maybe a future aspect. Jeff, how about over at DISA? You want to highlight an example there of where you're partnering with DoD or partnering with one of the services to deliver these capabilities?
Sure. For us, it's really the program that I'd like to highlight on this program is warfighter decision survivability outside of the continental United States. We have very great capability, very great ability to survive various threat actor actions here in the United States. But what we're finding out from the warfighter is it's not so much the same when we talk in the Pacific or we talk in Europe or we talk in Africa. And so for us, it is about that right workload to the right location and having the right cloud mesh. And so that's where we talked about the joint operational edge for JWCC extension. And we talked about Stratus for our internal private cloud extension outside the US. Basically what these do is these allow us to put workload closer to the decision makers who are in the theaters, who have to deal with real world warfighter scenarios today. And what it also does is this program allows us to ensure that we have a much better defined mesh of compute cloud capability. So even if a threat actor does something in one location, we're setting up the warfighter so that their workload can instantly be brought up and be online and be active in another location. And without skipping a beat, they're able to continue making those instant decisions that they need to make.
Excellent example there, and we really do appreciate that collaboration and really focusing on that OCONUS. Rashay, I know you all have a lot of various activities going on up there. I'd love to hear you highlight one of these that you're using this technology to keep this country safe.
Yep. So I've got a great one for you, Luke.
All
I
right.
want to talk about the Homeland Security Information Network, short name HISN.
Okay.
So with HISN, cloud computing really brought significant benefits to our Homeland Security Information Network because back in 2016, I'll take you back a few years, we needed to lift it into the cloud. We had thousands of users across DHS agencies, as well as state, local, and tribal first responders. And we chose HISN as a pilot to move to the cloud. Shifting HISN to the cloud gave us greater flexibility, efficiency, and made us easier to develop and run systems. And it also made sure that the platform met strict government security standards. So the cloud allowed us to quickly adjust resources. I'll give you an example with the presidential election a couple of weeks ago. With that, it was kind of hard to predict how users, whether it be first responders at state, local, tribal components that all use HISN, it was kind of hard to determine the level of usage during the elections. And what cloud enabled us to do is quickly ramp up resources and handle the surge without disruptions to the users. Just to take you a little bit further into the future of HISN, we are modernizing HISN. I think one thing that will help us modernize HISN is with cloud, we can do it in a modular and incremental fashion, which will really help so that it won't take so long. We don't have these big bang 3-year to implement systems type of rollouts. Now we can actually implement modules of HISN for collaboration or chat or document storage a lot quicker than we could 10 years ago.
Fantastic. I love the incremental development capabilities. You've got a wide audience there, if I recall, about HISN, and the elasticity of cloud certainly aligns itself to that type of functionality. And I'm sure the whole law enforcement community appreciates that. Lalisha, let's talk about at Splunk and give us a specific example. You have you're sitting in the catbird seat there, right? You've got the ability to stripe across all these agencies. Give us an example of one that you'd like to highlight that really taking advantage of this technology.
Yeah, I would say we have several, as you probably are aware, Luke, but I would say Splunk is no different than our customers, and we like to drink our own champagne, if you will, Luke, with our own cloud platform, which I think is important. We too had to maintain a complex hybrid environment while mitigating development costs as customer zero. So our IT team relied on our own cloud platform to conduct load tests to ensure features migrated successfully. The platform identified an underlying tooling challenge proactively, improving the team's internal scaling capabilities. And thanks to these efforts, the team successfully migrated about 11,000 users to the collaboration app in a single weekend with zero outages for over a year, ensuring a seamless experience for users around the globe, while also saving $600,000, equating to a win-win for all. Another area where cloud is making a big difference, I think, for our customers is in the healthcare space. We partner with a customer who required a flexible, reliable, and real-time monitoring to provide visibility into their experiments, into their equipment status and quality control processes. Using our platform, they were able to create holistic dashboards of critical data in lab environments to enable the companies to really increase the development speed of life-changing therapy for individuals. And the outcome here, Luke, was zero significant data loss events, near perfect patch compliance, an 800-hour reduction in instrument downtime, which increase the speed of medicine production for treatment delivery for those who really, really need it the most.
Wow. Wow. What a touching story there, and really appreciate it. Love seeing this technology really right down to the care of an individual. George, how about at DoD? You talked about a lot of different things that you all are doing over there, specifically lighting up the JWCC. I think you got 4 cloud vendors. You've got these multi-vendor, multi-cloud environment going on. Give us an example of what one that you'd like to highlight.
Yeah, so look, it's great that we have 2 DoD representatives here. So Jeff could talk
Absolutely.
about
Sort of a
DISA
yin
and
and
the
yang there
command
too.
support. So I was going to mention what they're doing. Like, this is just knocking it out of the park with making cloud practical for all the agencies, especially what they're doing in the field. But the one I wanted to talk about today is the MEPCOM, the Military Interest Processing Command. So that's the command that reaches out to the American public, recruits people, brings people into the military service.
Oh.
It does background investigations. It figures out what their career in the military is going to be. They took some legacy mainframe applications that were, way beyond what we needed. And recruiting, you don't realize how important recruiting is just to keep the pipelines of the military in place. So they transformed their entire infrastructure to a cloud-first infrastructure. But more importantly, they changed how they did the development of systems. So going from a waterfall design with lots of planning and preparations, they changed it to an agile process. They started out in the cloud. They did minimum viable products. They looked to the minimum core elements that you need for recruiting. And what was so fascinating is they changed the expectation of the recruiting community from a long application that's never changing into one that's minimally viable, but it changes every 2 weeks and features come on every 2 weeks. So they would look at how to optimize what they're doing, and the people in the recruiting field would go back to the developers, go back to MEPCOM and ask for a couple features. And they would get those features, and then they would change their processes and they would expand on that. So at the end of the day, it's a completely different application, different backlog of requests. A lot of the legacy buttons and widgets that were in place were no longer necessary because the whole process was optimized around this gradually, incrementally adding capability and developing the process. So great example of using the cloud as a basis, hand in hand, agile development with the end users. And I think that's really how we want to transform cloud within the department.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to what Rashay was describing with his, and I love the ability for this technology to allow these incremental capabilities to happen, which is certainly the way to go these days. Scott, how about at Verizon? Want to give us an example of where this technology is being used to unlock some of these capabilities and services?
Well, and there are quite a few that we could consider. Obviously we could talk about
Let's consider
healthcare.
one good one.
Yeah. All right, one good. Well, good. That's always relative, right? Let's go with a solution in the healthcare space with the intent of increasing information velocity. Information velocity is critical when you're talking about how things are moving. And when I talk about how things are moving, I'm talking about, how do systems interact with the data? What data are they consuming, and how quickly can they get it? We worked with a government customer in the healthcare world to reduce the impact of that information speed, that reality of how fast the information was coming in. We reduced a radical amount of lag that they had in helping them better optimize the ingest process for the data. That's the value proposition, obviously, is that, we increase the velocity of the data. We help the veracity of the data, because the longer time you have to verify the data before it's actually consumed, the better the reliability of the data is. So that's a really quick example.
Excellent, and we really do appreciate it. Let's talk about priorities. We always know we have a lot of them. I'm going to start with you, Rashay. Top couple of priorities for you all as you march into fiscal year 2025 in regards to, cloud and cloud services, et cetera.
Yeah, I'll say my top priority within Homeland Security headquarters, given my portfolio contains the DHS Enterprise Cloud, is automation. I mean, automation is huge. I think Balaji mentioned continuous integration, continuous deployment. Yes, that is something that we do have some of those tools already enabled now, but there's always progress that can be made. And those tools are constantly changing and upgrading and evolving. So that is one thing too. Auto scaling, it's almost like that unicorn that we keep chasing. We think that we have the right settings for auto scaling to happen the way that it should be, but that's something that we continuously tweak within multiple of our cloud environments. So we still have some work to do there. Infrastructure as a code is one of those things that are also on the list, and a lot of security related items like disaster recovery, making sure that we have enough coverage there in the cloud in the event that we have any incidents. Compliance automation, I'm really looking forward to that as well. That I think some of these tools, especially in the AI space, will help with. I think one thing that I'll say lastly, I'd like to see more done on with our technical debt. I mean, we did a lot to lift and shift a lot of applications to the cloud. However, they are not necessarily cloud native. And I would love to see some tools also. I know we're going to get to the future later, but I would love to see some tools in that space that would help with that refinement of applications to make them more cloud native without significant manual effort. So that's also a priority for me.
Sure. It sounds like you have a basket of services there that you're focusing on so that you can really increase the velocity and deliver those capabilities to your operators, which is awesome. Jeff, how about at DISA? Top 2 priorities for you as you focus on 2025.
So our number one priority is getting DoD mission partners to really understand what the offerings are out there for cloud. So we have developed an entire kind of engagement package that we call Why Before What. And what that really means is we want to just come in. We don't want you to have anxiety about what it is you need for your cloud. We understand that you need cloud. You may not understand what that means for you. And so we're going to engage in that. We're going to talk about that first, and then we'll start talking about the solutions. And then we're going to hit on all the things that we're talking about here, whether it's CI/CD or whether it is about better automation, whether it's about is commercial cloud the best space for me because of the type of data that I have. And we're going to help a mission partner work through all that. Our ultimate goal is to help them with the journey. Ultimately, in DoD, we want everyone to get to the best cloud space possible with the best set of security, cyber, zero trust, everything else that we're talking about here. And for us, that is the end result is JWCC in a commercial cloud space because they can do things at scale way better than we'll ever be able to. But like a lot of folks are talking about here, not everyone is ready. Their apps aren't ready for that. So with that, we do offer ways to get to that journey and break it up and put it into different segments, and then we'll push and help you get towards that. And the other one for that is basically just emphasizing within ourselves is cost optimization of how do we get you to that journey. So it's the proper workload placement. It's telling you that you don't need high availability or resiliency over here when it's just your test environment. It's really to help the mission partner kind of keep their own costs and their own expenses down as they are on the journey.
You know, what's awesome is what I hear here is not really, I have to build these capabilities. It's like the capabilities are there, and now I just need to bring all these combatant services along and show them how to use these capabilities. So hats off to all of you for getting to that point. It's really a significant level of maturity there that doesn't go unnoticed. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We are talking about cloud and secure cloud, specifically talking about top priorities for 25. Scott, what are you all focused on in 25 at Verizon?
I think top of mark is we're looking heavily and trying to support our customers as they pursue cloud security options. The big ones, Zero Trust, SASE, Secure Access Service Edge. Those are big things that customers are considering, looking at, government agencies are looking at. So that's kind of priority one for us. Security is a big deal at Verizon. We like to be secure, like to help secure.
Absolutely need to be secure, laser focus. Balaji, number one priority for you at TSA regarding the host game.
Yeah, so thanks again. And just like several of my colleagues have mentioned, getting that smart cloud implemented properly is very, very much an important. Just to let you know that the TSA CIO office has published their IT strategy, and we align all of our priorities accordingly, right? So it is speed to impact, data driven decision making. How do we make that available? Security first, and then the workforce engagement, and then customer experience. These are very critical for us. So you will see a lot of these smart hybrid cloud implementation are all aligned to it, just like the DevSecOps, which is speed to impact, zero trust on the security side. These are all happening right now. Keeping the data framework, creating it, the mesh framework. Lot of importance given, as you might have noticed, on OT/IT convergence. So with that open architecture, you touched on touchless and passenger experience. Innovation cloud is very important. So we created a separate one for the innovation cloud, and that is going to be our priority as well, to bring in at a fast rate. How do we bring in that innovation? So those are some of the
year for you all at TSA. We really do appreciate all the focus in those various areas. George, top priority for the DoD regarding the cloud for fiscal year 25.
As I look at this from the CIO level, the DoD is fundamentally a risk-based development organization. Like we develop weapon systems and airframes and new ships and all kinds of different architectures. But when you look at actually how the department works, there's a lot of traditional technology and waterfall processes built into the instructions. So this is the point in the department where we've proven that the cloud works. We've proven that the DevSecOps and the software modernization agile works. I think this year our goal is to start replacing some of that instructions. Replace the instructions that we have to do, acquisition in a certain way. We have to do testing after the fact. We have to do years of kind of integration and start morphing those into more agile practices. So we're looking at recoding some of the fundamental instructions of the department to really align us so that the default practice is to use the modern environments, use the speed that the cloud brings, and transform our business operations across all of our DIB partners, across all of the major funding programs. And that's going to be really hard because cultural change and how we operate, transforming that is going to be a big challenge. That's a big focus for this year is recoding the instruction set and looking at how we drive down instructions from the top.
Amen. And a daunting task and a great place to focus on. We appreciate that. Lalisha, number one priority for Splunk in fiscal year 25.
Yeah, so together, Splunk and Cisco will continue to support our customers and ensuring the resilience of their digital systems, transforming really how people live and work as priority number one. We plan to do this by connecting people, places, apps, data, and things to protect against all the cyber threats, downtime, compliance risks that we've heard on this call thus far. As I've shared previously, we've made huge investments in our platform with IL5 and FedRAMP High authorization, and we'll continue to combine the power of the network with security, observability, and collaboration to really ensure we have that comprehensive cloud provider agnostic solution that really integrates the physical and digital worlds of our customers. And three key focus areas in particular for us, Luke, center around AI-ready data centers, future-proof workplaces, and digital resilience.
Excellent. We really do appreciate that. Rashay, we're going to do a turbo round. You ready?
I'm ready, Luke. Let's go.
Number one top lesson learned that you all have experienced that you'd like to share with the listening audience. Number one
lessons learned. Cloud is not as cheap as you think. If you think it's cost savings, you better get ready for what it takes to make sure it is truly cost efficient.
And George, number one lesson learned at DoD so far on the cloud journey.
To follow what Risha said, it's not only is cloud not free, but cloud is a different business model. If you go into cloud bringing your traditional business models and you try to expect to get the value out of it, you're really missing the boat. It brings new capability. It brings a credible value that you really need to merge into your business processes. So don't go looking for cost savings, but look at taking advantage of what cloud actually does as a fundamental capability.
Excellent catch there, Balaji. Number one lesson learned.
Yeah, Luke, I like what Rashia said. For us, it is, you need to make sure you have a correct strategic approach, phased implementation, and don't security be an afterthought, built in right up front. Otherwise, you're going to come back and reinvent the whole wheel. So our approach is phased strategic approach with security framework built in.
Right. And otherwise, if not, it will get very expensive. Jeff,
Yes.
number one lesson learned at DISA.
A cloud journey is nothing without a strong, consistent customer feedback loop. We cannot keep putting capabilities out there and just expect customers to come to them and know what to do with them and be okay with them. We have to listen. We have to understand what their mission set is. We have to understand when they're having trouble with their cloud journey.
Excellent. And that feedback loop, very important. Well, we're going to have to wrap it up here. And we always like to end with this question, which is, let's fast forward, right? It sounds like we're going up the value chain, up the stack in regards to the maturity of this technology and the use of it. 2 to 3 years from now, Scott, what's it going to look like? What is Verizon going to be focused on 2 to 3 years from now?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you for asking, Luke. Realistically, I think people are embracing the concept of AI. So underneath the concept of AI, I don't think people always think about it, but it's the reality of constant connection. And that evolution, and particularly when you start thinking about most of the AI instances that people are going to use, an organization has to make a choice. I can go to the cloud, right? I can go use OpenAI, I can go use Perplexity, I can go use Claude, I can go use Google. I've got tools I can use that are all cloud-based. I've got data that I don't want to share. So the first problem is, what do I do, right? How do I build the framework so that my data stays on my premise? I don't have to give up control of it. I don't want OpenAI knowing about what I'm doing. But the other side of it is, how can I effectively leverage that? So the first thing is AI. The second thing is constant connectivity. And then the last piece that we're thinking about, is all of this coming together into the concept of capacity. AI generates between 8 and 15 times the amount of network traffic that traditionally is on the network.
Wow.
Based on that, we have to start thinking about things like, how do we leverage dark fiber? How do we integrate? And obviously Verizon has a large portfolio of dark fiber, as do many of our cloud partners. How do we leverage that? How do we build the capacity that organizations need so that they can have that AI, right? You can have your AI and eat the cake too.
Excellent, and appreciate the top line there. Alicia, how about at Splunk? Fast forward 2 years from now, what are we going to be talking about?
Yeah, I think we're always going to still be talking about security first and foremost. I think that's going to remain constant. I think we'll start to see, and we're already seeing this, many agencies will be leveraging public clouds, but they'll also be seeing a big shift to hybrid and multi-cloud, which is slowly happening now. Cloud native and serviceless architecture will evolve, right? More applications and services will be designed cloud native, meaning they'll be built specifically for the cloud environment. I think we heard earlier with the rise of IoT devices and the increasing need for real-time data processing, right? Edge computing will become a critical part of the IT infrastructure. And I think we'll see a big impact in the space of public safety as a result. And then I think cloud-based government infrastructure as a whole will just lead to the creation of more digital-first resident-centric services. And then I lastly will leave you with, Luke, we have a 2025 prediction report that's coming out in December from Splunk. So stay tuned for more predictions.
Outstanding. We look forward to seeing that, and we'll get that out on a link as soon as you have it available to us. Jeff, how about at DISA? Fast forward 2 to 3 years from now, what are we going to be looking at this point when those combat commands come to you looking for capabilities? What are we going to be offering?
So it all comes down to shifting the mindset of cloud as infrastructure and it's placing workloads in various places to just simply data capacity for a mission partner. And with that, what our crystal ball is showing us, much like Scott was talking about, is we're going to be exploring AI, ML, and or GPU as a capacity service.
Nice.
We're going to be exploring cloud portability, the ability to not have vendor lock-in from a mission partner's perspective. And then also we're going to be looking at how can we enhance mission partner environment capability for tactical environments, so that not only are we sharing our data within our service components, but we're able to share the mission critical data with those outside of DoD.
Excellent, and we really do appreciate that. That's an awesome concept, GPU as a service, and certainly much needed based on the growth of AI. Balaji, I've been waiting to ask you this question. 2 to 3 years from now, are we going to be able to walk through an airport and have a touchless experience?
I bet you are going to. And you know, we are making a tremendous progress in that. And as you might have seen, there are 10 airports now with a touchless experience in the pre-check area. So I think we are working very closely with DHS and very closely with our partners at CBP and others to make that happen. But you know, going back to your question, it's our focus is really on data. You know, AI and ML without a proper data management is really just that, right? The model cannot run. So our focus is a lot on data-driven decision-making for the next 4 to 5 years, and making sure across the board. Edge computing is a big aspect of that. You know, how do we make sure we have 45,000 of our TSOs out in the field that do not have a GFE. So we need to figure out how do we enable them to, you know, and then the passenger experience, you know, one unified passenger experience is going to be a big deal. All of these are going to happen, you know, with the built-in our security and, you know, all of the infrastructure very correctly built in. So I'm assuring you, Luke, that you're going to have a touchless experience.
Fantastic. Not just me, the traveling public at large. So they're really looking forward to that. I certainly am. George, how about at DoD? So many activities going on over there. It's daunting for me to even get my head around 2 to 3 years from now. You guys are you're floating an aircraft carrier there, right? So what's that going to look like? Where do you think you'll be landing as far as, you know, 2 to 3 years from now in your environment there?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to touch on cyber, but I wanted to envision the new cyber in 2 years. So what we're seeing is things like authority to operate and our reaction and are we secure transforming to have we built things secure? Is our supply chain secure? And then focusing on what we're calling continuous authority to operate, software factories that are handling the supply chain. So they're managing the containers and the commercial software that comes in, gets bundled together with custom software. And we're building that process so that the end product is secure. So we're not saying, is the product secure? We're saying the factory is secure and the products that we're operating are secure. And that changes the whole way we go about operating, because we are taking stuff that's secure and that's what we're using. We're not having that question after the fact, like, are we building secure? It's secure as it comes out of the factory. And I think that's going to transform the speed at which we operate and the ability to pull in new capability and ingest it right into the production environments. So continuous ATO, modifying supply chain to being the focus and not the end product.
Do you think the continuous, you know, we always heard about ATO in a day, right?
Yeah.
And we all kind of smirk after we say it. Are we talking about a continuous ATO that sort of usurps that whole concept isn't even relevant anymore?
Exactly. ATO should start on the day you start planning a system. And when it's out, that ATO has been baked in, the testing's been baked in, we've done all the scans on the pieces. So nobody has to come back and say, was it done correctly or is it going to be effective? That whole process is baked into how we build it. And I think that's how it's fast, when it comes out secure. And that's the sort of the mindset we have to get to.
Right. And if you listen to this, the CISA director, right, she really has that mantra, secure by design. And I think we're getting to a point where we're really focusing on that and paying attention to it. And so hats off to you all to sort of be the vanguard of that. All right, Sharisha, you're going to take us home. I'm a freshly minted branch chief. Just got hired by Riche. and she's giving me this daunting task to build his in 3.0 or whatever it is 2 to 3 years from now. What's that environment going to look like? I say that tongue in cheek, but I know there's some daunting tasks that you all are working on. Financial systems, HR systems, these massive enterprise environments. Where do you expect to be when you look around your environment 2 to 3 years from now?
Great question, Luke. I'm going to pull on a couple of things I heard from colleagues that are kind of in my stream of thought. Alicia mentioned serverless computing. I mean, that the amount of resources in terms of people that we have maintaining infrastructure, it's cloud. I get it. It's not a data center, but it still takes a lot of administration. So 3 years from now, I think that a lot of those resources will shift from maintaining cloud infrastructure to maintaining code and writing code. So I'd love to see more implementation of an elimination of like a lot of servers and just infrastructure based on how the cloud is set up today. So I think that tomorrow's cloud won't require all that infrastructure and the server structure. So let's go serverless. The other thing I want to mention is what Jeff and Scott brought up in regards to AI and the utilization of AI to automate things, repetitive tasks like system maintenance and security patching. It's all still related to infrastructure. There's so many personnel and so much time and costs associated with just simply maintaining the systems that these applications sit on in the cloud. So I think tomorrow in 3 years, I would love to see a lot less money spent on those types of things than actually building the applications that we need to protect the homeland. So I'm looking forward to that future.
Yeah, really sort of shifting it to the tip of the spear there. Really do appreciate that. And I want to thank today's guests for taking the time out of their busy schedules to join us for this program. I'd also like to thank the sponsors for supporting us on this show. I'd like to thank the good people here at Federal News Network that make our program so successful and enjoyable. And most of all, I'd like to thank the listening audience out there that tune in every month.